Title: U.S. Citizenship Interview Questions and Responses. Officer: What is the supreme law of the land? Applicant: The Constitution. Officer: How many amendments does the Constitution have? Applicant: 27. Officer: What did the Declaration of Independence do? Applicant: It announced our independence from Great Britain. Officer: Who is the governor of your state now? Applicant: The governor of my state is applicant's state governor's name. Officer: What are the two rights of Americans? Applicant: Freedom of expression and freedom of worship. Officer: What do we show loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance? Applicant: The United States and its flag. Officer: Name one branch or part of the government. Applicant: Congress. Officer: Who makes federal laws? Applicant: The Congress. Officer: Who is the Chief Justice of the United States? Applicant: John Roberts. Officer: What are two cabinet-level positions? Applicant: Secretary of Defense and Secretary of Education. Officer: What does the judicial branch do? Applicant: Reviews laws, resolves disputes, and decides if laws violate the Constitution. Officer: Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the states. What is one power of the states? Applicant: To provide schooling and education. Officer: Who is the Commander-in-Chief of the military? Applicant: The President. Officer: What does the President's cabinet do? Applicant: Advises the President. Officer: What are two major political parties in the United States? Applicant: Democratic and Republican. Officer: What is the political party of the President now? Applicant: The President is from the Democratic Party. Officer: What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives now? Applicant: Mike Johnson. Officer: What is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens? Applicant: Serving on a jury. Officer: What is one right reserved for United States citizens? Applicant: Voting in federal elections. Officer: What is the capital of the United States? Applicant: Washington, D.C. Officer: Where is the Statue of Liberty? Applicant: New York Harbor. Officer: Why do some states have more representatives than others? Applicant: Because of the state population. Officer: Who signs bills to become laws? Applicant: The President. Officer: What are the two parts of the U.S. Congress? Applicant: The Senate and House of Representatives. Officer: We elect a U.S. Senator for how many years? Applicant: 6 years. Officer: What is the name of the Vice President of the United States now? Applicant: Kamala Harris. Officer: If the President can no longer serve, who becomes President? Applicant: The Vice President. Officer: Who vetoes bills? Applicant: The President. Officer: How many justices are on the Supreme Court? Applicant: 9. Officer: Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Applicant: Thomas Jefferson. Officer: What ocean is on the west coast of the United States? Applicant: The Pacific Ocean. Officer: What is the capital of your state? Applicant: Applicant's state capital. Officer: During the Cold War, what was the main concern of the United States? Applicant: Communism. Officer: What movement tried to end racial discrimination? Applicant: The Civil Rights Movement. Officer: What does the President's cabinet do? Applicant: Advises the President. Officer: What is one promise you make when you become a United States citizen? Applicant: To give up loyalty to other countries. Officer: What are two ways that Americans can participate in their democracy? Applicant: Voting and running for office. Officer: When is the last day you can send in federal income tax forms? Applicant: April 15th. Officer: What did Martin Luther King Jr. do? Applicant: Fought for civil rights and equality for all Americans. Officer: Name one of the two longest rivers in the United States. Applicant: The Mississippi River. Officer: What is one thing Benjamin Franklin is famous for? Applicant: U.S. diplomat. Officer: What group of people was taken to America and sold as slaves? Applicant: Africans. Officer: When do we celebrate Independence Day? Applicant: July 4th. Officer: Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. Applicant: World War II. Officer, what is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? Applicant, speech. Officer, what is the economic system in the United States? Applicant, capitalist economy. Officer, what is one of the two longest rivers in the United States? Applicant, the Missouri River. Officer, what do we call the first 10 amendments to the Constitution? Applicant, the Bill of Rights. Officer, who is the father of our country? Applicant, George Washington. Officer, what did the Emancipation Proclamation do? Applicant, freed the slaves. Officer, name one state that borders Canada. Applicant, New York. Officer, who was president during World War I? Applicant, Woodrow Wilson. Officer, name one of the two longest rivers in the United States. Applicant, the Missouri River. Officer, what is the capital of the state you live in? Applicant, state capital. Officer, what are the two major political parties in the United States today? Applicant, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Officer, what is the name of the President of the United States now? Applicant, Joe Biden. Officer, what is the name of the Vice President of the United States now? Applicant, Kamala Harris. Officer, what is the highest court in the United States? Applicant, the Supreme Court. Officer, what are the two parts of the U.S. Congress? Applicant, the Senate and the House. Officer, what are two rights in the Declaration of Independence? Applicant, life and liberty. Officer, who was the first president? Applicant, George Washington. Officer, what territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? Applicant, the Louisiana Territory. Officer, what stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? Applicant, checks and balances. Officer, who is in charge of the executive branch? Applicant, the President. Officer, who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? Applicant, Native Americans. Officer, what ocean is on the east coast of the United States? Applicant, the Atlantic Ocean. Officer, what is one reason colonists came to America? Applicant, for freedom. Officer, who vetoes bills? Applicant, the President. Officer, what does the Constitution do? Applicant, defines the government. Officer, what are the two main political parties? Applicant, Democratic and Republican. Officer, what are the two parts of the U.S. Congress? Applicant, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Officer, how many U.S. senators are there? Applicant, 100. Officer, we elect a U.S. representative for how many years? Applicant, 2 years. Officer, who does a U.S. senator represent? Applicant, all people of the state. Officer, what are the two parts of the U.S. Congress? Applicant, the Senate and the House of Representatives.